Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's me. It's the GOC. I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. Coming to you live to tape 25 feet below the surface of the earth here at Chaos Headquarters. Fans, go back and check out part one, my opening monologue, and then my connection of what we're here for today to book review. We are doing Justin Roberts, WWE Best Seat in the House. Fans, I gave you my local connection. I gave you my connection to Justin Price, aka Justin Roberts. Again, I can't implore you enough. This will make sense because this is part two of Chaos Corner, the book review of Justin Roberts' Best Seat in the House. Again, go back. I just put it up. It's uploaded to the YouTube channel. Part one, my opening monologue. And then here on part two, we're going to review chapters 4 and 5, and then I'll give you also here on this review a little bit of the history between current AEW Dynamite announcer Justin Roberts and me, your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. Follow me on all social media platforms, and you know what they are. Here on the mothership, Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. On Instagram, it's the Guardian of Chaos. On Facebook, I get it. There's two accounts. Jay Brony, that's right, Jay Brony, and Prodigio Fidelis El Guardian. Follow me on Gitter, Gab, Truth Social, Rumble. I cover it all in the IWC. Fans, you're not going to want to miss this. I'm going to get right into it here in part two. In a few minutes, a minute or so, we're going to jump off all those other social media platforms. Meet me back here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Hey, listen. There's nobody in the executive room. There's nobody in the lounge. Nobody's down here taking kickboxing classes. It's just you and I. Grab a beverage. Listen, I told you in part one, I have an espresso. So sit back and relax. Enjoy the sounds of Chaos Corner as we do the book review of Justin Roberts. He puts me over in chapter 5. You're not going to want to miss this one. All right, fans. I'll see you on YouTube. Guys, welcome back to part two of the book review, Justin Roberts. Again, part one was, I had a good time doing it. I was in a little different mood. I'm just about done with the espresso. And I'm going to hydrate after that, I promise. So it's great to be back here on a Monday morning on Chaos Corner. We're going to jump right into it. Again, I read I didn't do the foreword by Tommy Dreamer. I read you a lot of the comments that were by Justin Roberts and the top stars that have read this and put him over that he worked with. Now, remember, at this point with Justin, when this book was written, I met Justin, I believe, when he was 19 years old. I want to say I first met Justin, it was for the World Wrestling Zone. I talked about the twins, Steve and Larry Gligorovic, Heaven and Hell. The Turbo Twins, they were an unbelievable tag team, and they ran their own organization, and they ran their own shows. They booked me several times, treated me like gold. Two handsome bastards. I mean, let's call it for who it is. Two guys that know what they're doing in this business and in life. Very successful, very modest, very humble people that, like the Guardian of Chaos, Steve and Larry, Justin as well, tell it like it is. So I couldn't thank those guys enough. That's the local connection. Because of Steve and Larry, I met Justin, and also through Dale Gagne in the AWA and the AWA Superstars. You guys know the story there. Steve and Larry took me out to Chicago, and, I had the chance to work with Josh Matthews in his pro debut at the Hammond, Indiana Civic Center. I got the chance to work against Terry Funk because of Steve and Larry. They booked me for that. They trusted me enough. So I can't thank those guys enough. And that's where I met Justin. He was just a kid. Look at him now. Successful family man, an unbelievable guy. Does it for, mixed martial arts, boxing, pro wrestling, best seat in the house in the WWE, and now his success in AEW. I mean, Justin, to see him go from a teenager and then through college and then the poster behind us, the connection. I still have a couple of the original flyers from back then. We talked about Tony Myers, great guy. I think he's back in the States now. So just the pure chicanery of Dale Gagne and one John Stewart. That's right. You haven't heard that name in a long time. Johnny Stewart. And of course, our connection through the unbelievable Jerry Springer show. So Justin and I go back like a recliner. I mean, we go back like 8 tracks. That's what you get here on this channel. I say it all the time, raw dog, one man, unique, unedited, unscripted. I'm not asking for nothing. I do this out of passion. I am the old man brand. I am the over 50 demo god. I do this because it's my stress reliever, hopefully to relieve stress for you. I think I had a little spit on my lip in the first part. Go back and check out part 1. Listen, we're 5 minutes in. Let me take a sip and jump right into this because this is going to be another half an hour. I'm going to read it to you until we get to the part where in chapter 5, Justin puts me over. And then you guys, listen, go out and get this book. Not because I'm in it, because Justin Roberts is a legend. What an unbelievable guy, how humble. And the stories of the bullying and just how he persevered and how he lived a dream. And he was a fan like all of us. I mean, again, I met him when he was a kid. You got to remember, and when I met Justin, I believe it was towards the late 90s. I mean, I was already in my 30s. I met Justin as a young kid, and to see him live it, and he acted so professional. He was at that point probably 19, going on 35 as far as the way he handled himself, like he had been doing it for a long time. What a great guy! And I'm not just saying it. I haven't seen Justin in probably 15, maybe 20 years. All right, thanks for being here on Chaos Corner. We're going to jump right into a part 2. I'm only doing a couple chapters. I'm going to read, so bear with me. I know sometimes you get boring. Put the headsets on. Grab something to eat. Listen to it. You don't have to watch me. I mean, I know I look pretty good, but you don't have to watch me. Listen to the beautiful sounds. Chapter 4. Read along with me. Go to chapter 4. Best seat in the house. Picture it. Brooklyn 2000. Now in 2000, I'm in my middle 30s. So, you'll see how young, and they talk about Twin Turbos, Steve and Larry. I mean, this is a great read. So the whole entire book, but we're concentrating on these 2 chapters because it's my channel. You get it. But I'm not putting myself over. I'm not mentioned till the end. So here it is, chapter 4. On June 12, 2000, the Twin Turbos, a.k.a. Steve and Larry Gligorovic, and I received an email from Dale within the subject, huge opportunity, little money. Boy, wasn't that the story of my life, but it is what it is, man. Dale told us that he had just signed the agreement for an appearance of a lifetime. He had been negotiating with Bally's Total Fitness on the East Coast to provide a mini wrestling production as part of the grand opening celebration of their Brooklyn, New York club. Bally's goal was to blow the roof off by having none other than The Rock live for an autograph session. The deal was done, and the WWF's Rock would be appearing with the AWA Superstars of Wrestling. Fans, I even have memorabilia right here, and I think I've reviewed it on the channel as we're talking about this. Here's the poster. I told you, The Rock, Saturday, June 24th, 1 to 3:30 at the Bally's main gym. Bally's Total and Fitness. I'm glad I held on to a few of these. Tilden Avenue in Brooklyn. I don't know what's going on there now, but the connection, it really was. So it's nice to see this in the book. And then, we did Super Clash 3D in your face out in the Laughlin on the Colorado River in Bullhead City, Arizona, against King Kong Bundy, Jon Stewart and the Ilk, and Steve and Larry, Heaven and Hell. It was a sight to behold. I will say that to say this because I tell it like it is. Let's move on. We were told that we would be sharing the stage and the dressing room with the most recognized performer in this and almost every entertainment industry. We were also told that The Rock would be traveling with agents from the WWF. After the afternoon appearance, Dale planned on attending the WWF's Madison Square Garden event. Now, fans, remember the time frame. We're in 2023 here on Chaos Corner. This is back in June, the summer of 2000. So this is going back 23 years ago, 23 and a half years ago. Talk about history on this channel. Boy, I am the old man brand. So we were told that the matches would take place inside the club and be broadcasted by video linked to a huge outdoor screen. He told us that in order to secure the booking, he had to lowball the numbers. which meant he needed to use local talent unless we wanted the opportunity. He also mentioned that he would be doing a full production for them in the Philadelphia area in September. So there was a lot of negotiations. But again, and I'm not going to get into it here. I'm going to see what Justin says. So a lot to be told about the AWA and Dale Gagne and so on and so forth. Steve and Larry know the deal. Johnny Stewart. Let's not get into that. Let's see what we're here to talk and review this. #1 best-selling author, Justin Roberts. If he wanted to be a part of this high-profile event, we would have to take care of all the travel and lodging expenses. Isn't that the case? On the flip side, we would be performing in the same show as The Rock. That's why you don't pass up opportunities, and you always have your gear. And sometimes you just have to take that leap. Whether it's locally working for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling or WWE, it doesn't matter. You guys get the connection. So we would also be exposed to their agents and a huge crowd that he anticipated to be over 10,000. I can verify the numbers. We'll get on to that. He went on to tell us that the clock was ticking. He said giving each of us an opportunity because he felt that we represented the organization professionally and each of us deserved the opportunity to be noticed. Now, this is Justin talking, Steve and Larry Gregorovic, Dale Gagne, but this is Justin telling the story there, Johnny Stewart. You guys get the connection. I just want to bring you the localness here. Wow, I get to work with The Rock, Justin says, who is the biggest star in the WWF. If I buy my own plane ticket, car, and hotel, man, this is just back in 2000. Imagine what it was like when in the early 90s, late 80s, the territory days, earlier than that. Well, I talked to the twins, and it sounded like a great opportunity, so why not? Being the fan that I was, I flew out to New York City and made my way to Bally's. There were no big screens, there were no agents, there were no WWF reps, there were no WWF tickets, and many fans, but not 10,000. Again, I told you we'll talk about that. This is great. There was no September event in Philadelphia. We arrived late because we kept getting lost. This was pre-GPS. This is only 2000. I don't think some of you viewers were even alive. You would have to be older than 23 years old. I'm just saying. Dale was upset with us. Even though he was making money off the event and not having to pay for any of us to be there, he told me that he was going to introduce The Rock. So I stood and watched as Dale welcomed The Rock to the ring, shook his hand, and looked over at me to take the picture. The anger and frustration were nothing next to the disappointment that I was feeling as I watched this happen, as I snapped pictures for Dale on the AWA website. I can vouch for this 1,000%, Justin, brother. This is perfect, man. Steve, Larry, don't you like this, man? I hope you guys are checking this out. I may post some of it over on Facebook. So I stood and watched as Dale welcomed The Rock to the ring. And anger and frustration were nothing next to the disappointment that I was feeling, like he said, as he was taking pictures with Dale and the AWA. This grand opening celebration had matches going on while The Rock sat and signed autographs. Dale had me go over to the table and announce him while he was sitting there. He didn't need an introduction midway through an autograph session, but at least I was able to say that I got to announce The Rock, which ironically would be the highlight of my career at the time. Hey, listen, Justin, I can relate to that. I still have the flyer, man. I'm reviewing it, bro. So it really was an unbelievable sight. I estimate, Justin, at least 5,000 or 6,000 people were there. I mean, I have the photos. I'll show them. I mean, it was a huge disappointment. That I can agree with, man. I was there, but you know what? I got to perform with Steve and Larry that day. I got to slap the shit out of Johnny Stewart that day. Slam him into the water fountain outside the ring. That was great for me, man. I live in the greater New England tri-state Northeast areas. I didn't have to go anywhere. Tony Myers either, man. So no, I get it, brother. This is well done. This was perfect. And when I read it, and I didn't review this before, it was fantastic, Justin. And again, whether you're watching this or not, this is gold. So where was I? Okay, again, he was talking about getting to introduce him. I reintroduced myself to him later and made sure to get a photo taken, as did the GOC. I think I've shown it before. It's posted on the community page here on the channel. I had a chance to talk to him in the locker room, the bathroom, and he was extremely friendly and down to earth. I asked him if he had gotten the eyebrow raise and that he did from Dana Carvey's church lady. My all-time favorite character, Justin said. He laughed and made a joke, but I never really got a straight answer. The mystery still remains to this day. While Dale wasn't always totally honest with us, he got us a lot of work. I can agree with that. And while it was unfortunate that he would burn these towns that drew huge crowds with advertised talent that was never booked, he still got some suitable names at times to make up for it. This still wasn't fair to the fans, that's for sure. And rather than just taking the pay and the booking and the being content, I felt bothered by it. With that said, though, he still took care of the guys and we always got our pay. I agree. Dale didn't stiff me. Gagne, AWA didn't stiff me. There were a lot of promoters who would have taken that money and skipped town without paying the crew. The next week would be another town, another ordeal of missing an unbooked talent or an unbooked talent. But we all stayed on the team, hoping he would get better since there was so much potential and so many good times out there. There really was. He could just advertise actual guys that could and would be booked without disappointing the fans. While there were indie guys who warned me not to work for Dale because WWF knew about his shows and advertising, I felt that working for Dale was one of the best things to ever happen to me. Yes, I once stood in the ring with a lead pipe in my hand, and when the fans were about to riot after I announced Mick Foley wouldn't be appearing and he wasn't booked, and also the WWF. But I was working with lots of talent who had been in the major leagues. I learned a lot from them. And I got my name and face out there. There's a lot to be said for that. I've always said that. I say it to this day. Also, most promoters threw someone out there to be a ring announcer. But Dale was flying me in because he liked my work. And he liked my connection with the fans. He, too, was a ring announcer and knew the importance of having a solid announcer to run the show. Everything happens for a reason. And running the initial Arizona show put Dale right in the middle of my life's path. And that's what I'm talking about. Super Clash 3D, in your face in Arizona, Laughlin, Vegas. Justin was a part of it. The video's up on the channel with the twins and with Justin. I mean, it's good stuff, man. And Bundy, and some of the misnamed guys. I'm just saying, man. In August 2000, WCW was running a Thursday Night Thunder taping in Tucson. When I met WCW cameraman Jackie Crockett the previous year, he said that I should bring him a tape the next time I came out. So on this night, I went to the taping and brought him a tape and resume. He told me that my timing was perfect because their current ring announcer, David Penzer, had gotten into some kind of, minor trouble the night before at Nitro. He said he would give the tape to Tony Schiavone, who was a WCW commentator. I assumed that meant he worked in the office. I was optimistic as I headed back to my fraternity house. Remember, Justin's in college at this point, which happened to be right down the street from where most of the talent was staying. I walked over to the hotel and let a few of the guys know that we were having a party that night. What did I have to lose, right? Before I knew it, Mike Awesome, Rey Mysterio, even Arn Anderson had stopped by. Arn was a WCW official, and I told him that I was a ring announcer and given Crockett my video earlier that night. Smart move, Justin. He told me to send him that video, so I did, at WCW headquarters in Atlanta, GA. Dirty South, former Hotland. I don't know. I'm not down there now. I don't know how it is. There's certainly a lot going on down there. The only problem was Arn didn't work at the headquarters. Junior year kept me in Arizona. Perfect time. This was a pretty significant point in my life. My favorite road trip to this day is the one that happened during this time. My fraternity brother told me about a kid that came in from the U of A. Danny from California, we'll call him. And he was a huge wrestling fan. Sure enough, we hit it off. And Danny would come with me to most of my shows. If I wasn't traveling with Steve, who lived in Phoenix, Steve and Larry Gligorovic, unbelievable. They keep coming up. Hey, guys, I hope you're watching. Yeah, I get it. Danny was great company, and on the Tucson-based trips, he would usually help sell the merchandise for the guys and record the matches. I think I've seen him on YouTube. Eventually, I suggested we make him a referee so he could be a part of the show since he was already at most of them anyway. In high school, I thought you had to go to wrestling school to learn how to ref. Now I realize that if you knew the right people, things that make you go, They can make it happen with a foot in the door and just a little basic training. But listen, you got to get in there. You got to be trained. It's just, the days were different, especially now. I'm not bashing anybody. I respect everybody at 20 minutes in here on Chaos Corner. Part 2, the book review of Justin Roberts' WWE Best Seat in the House. Danny, a masked wrestler from our crew known as Sin, CC Star, who was a former enhancement talent from years before, once lost a match to Brutus Beefcake and got his hair cut, and I drove in Sin's minivan. Yes, the evil mass destroyer known as Sin drove his family's minivan for 15 hours to Colorado. The group of us laughed for 15 hours. CC had really a cool mullet until the night before his road trip when he had his head shaved into a skullet by Beefcake. So Justin goes on to talk about the different matches and his road trips there in Arizona through Vegas, his association with Steve and Larry, his boy, obviously, Danny, CC, as we move on to the California days. Here in September of 2000, get in the time machine and flashback here on Chaos Corner doing the book review. I believe we're on page 58, somewhere thereabouts. Let's see where it goes. We might even end up doing a part 3 on this before we get on to the next chapter of Justin's book, chapter 5. I Respect You, Booker Man. That's eventually where we're headed. We're in chapter 4 right now. Picture it. Brooklyn, 2000, and The Rock. Wow, Justin, what a great way to tell that story, man. The rest of my education over the next few nights, where were we? Oh, we're in California. It's September 2000. And the promoter, Rick Drayson, he used a lot of the Southern California guys. One who really stood out was a guy that I recognized from a wrestling documentary based on a Southern California promotion. His name was The Prototype. John Cena. He hadn't been at it very long, but looking at him, there was no doubt that he would someday make it to the WWF. He was huge. He could speak very well, and he was a good-looking guy on top of it. He was cool to meet at all the Southern California independent shows, and I'd been hearing about from magazines and the internet, but never got to see him in person. And I referenced the match and got the basics under my belt. A couple of weeks later, Navajo, Lee, Knox, and I jumped in the ring truck with the ring in tow and headed to New Mexico. I was in awe backstage. My childhood idols were all sitting around in one room. I had waited for hours and hours as a kid to try to catch these guys for a picture or autograph, and now they're just sitting around in a circle. The moment was so exciting, yet intimidating at the same time. I could ring announce, no problem, but could I actually ref? It seemed easy, but the more I learned about the role, I found out that wasn't the case. Honky Tonk Man, that's right, the Honky Tonk, called me over and asked if I wanted to know the finish or ending sequence to this match. Now, this was new to me, a.k.a. a quote from Justin Roberts. I never needed to know who was going to win. Sure, it would be cool knowing, but who was going to win in advance? But as a ring announcer, I'd always just announce whatever happened. We never did anything fancy that would be able to figure out. As a referee, I guess the wrestlers would tell me how the match was going to end. So I've been prepared for it. So for the first time in my career, not only did I have wrestlers telling me how the match was going to end, but it was the wrestlers that I grew up watching. I never thought the day would come when they would be spoiling their own matches for me. Talk about Mark, Geek, Dweeb, Justin. That's what the fan, that's the journey. That's what this book is really all about. It's an unbelievable read. Again, there's an audio book version out of it as well. You can get the audio book. I don't know whether it's on all these different sites. I'm not putting anybody over at different companies. You can get the different book. Again, I just wanted to give you a small read, a small taste. The road, how it was even for Justin at that point, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old as we go on here, and where he ended up, and now to a man, I believe Justin is in his 40s now as a family man. Yeah, do your research. again, I can't implore you enough about the book. Again, you can get it in audio form. I'm sure it's out in many different forms. And again, I have obviously the hard copy edition. It really is an unbelievable book. We'll jump on. I'll try to wrap it up. I just want to give you the feeling of his backstage experiences and what this book and this journey and this ride is truly all about and what is in this book. You've seen me do the different book reviews on here. I've done everything from Bobby Heenan's book to Jimmy Hart's. I believe I did Danny Davis. I have the John Arezzi book that I'm going to do next. The different books reviews that we've done down here. Go back on the channel and check these out, and especially this part one and the connection and the different things and the guys that I'm still in touch with to this day. And I hope to see you down the road, brother. And, we're going to jump on to chapter 5 and where Justin speaks about the one night that he mentioned here in his book, the best-selling book, I will say. And then, we'll come back on Chaos Corner and we'll jump up to the current day episodes. But let me just end up with chapter 4 here before we go on to chapter 5. And I won't make it too long. We're at 25 minutes. And all the different stories to go back and read here. Again, this is chapter 4 and 5, and the different chapters. It's well over 20 chapters, and the different photos in this book. And again, I'm not getting anything out of this except pure fun and a proud feeling, almost like an uncle or a brother or even a father figure. I'm not that old, Justin, of reading this. It's really great at the time of where we were in our lives and the different connection to see where he is now, man. Can you feel the emotion? Can you feel the passion? It really is serene. I hope I don't scare you with my sound and with the background. We're in the senior year, University of Arizona, with Justin Roberts, WWE current AEW ring announcer extraordinaire. My senior year at the University of Arizona was a bit daunting. I really had one semester of classes, and then maybe a class or two the second semester before I would be done. I would be in the real world. Graduating college is really scary. Now, this is where Justin was at this point in his life, obviously. Hey, I have this piece of paper. Now I have to choose a career for the rest of my life and do it so in the next few months. Think about it as you go back, and I know this is 23 years ago. I had no idea what would happen when I graduated. The only career I wanted to do was become a WWF ring announcer. He wanted to live the dream. That was it. I had been sending out videotapes and resumes to the WWF every 3 months since sophomore year to Kevin Kelly, and everyone whose name was tossed around by anyone in the industry. I could certainly relate to that. I did the same thing. You see the difference that I was in my 30s at that point, and Justin was barely in his early 20s, barely 20 years old. So the right timing, the right era, but you still never give up. You see where I got, you see where Justin got. Reach for the sky. Reach. Don't give up. It doesn't matter what age, what stage, it can be done, man. And especially if you're walking in faith. Family, friends. Think about the connection. Again, that's all he wanted was to be a ring announcer for the WWF. That's all Justin wanted, and that's what this book is about, and then it becomes an unbelievable read. So again, back to the sending out the promo. I can't tell you enough to show up at shows, set up the ring, break down, get to know promoters, do your social networking, always have your gear, have backup gear on backup gear. Be prepared. Independence, pro wrestling, top-notch, AAA, AA, single A level, in front of 30 fans or 3,000 or 30,000. Be prepared. Know your business. Look the part. Live the life. Have some reality base to it. Will you please? And keep some kayfabe for dag-nabbit, gone, whatever word you want to use. I'm trying not to cuss again. I think I did it 3 or 4 times if anyone's counting on the 2 episodes. So back to Justin's senior year and graduating and not knowing what he's going to do, but knowing what he wants to do. I would email and call Kevin Dunn's office at WWF. He was the executive producer, and I wouldn't have known he even existed if it wasn't for seeing him on WWE WWF Tough Enough show. reality show for finding a new superstar. We know what that was all about, and the era there in the early 2000s, and Kevin Dunn, and he still works for him to this day in 2023. I'd never met him, nor did I know if he was sending my work to the right email and mailing addresses. Listen, I know I'm Jim Ross, Tommy Dreamer, J.J. Dillon, everybody and their mother, brother's uncle from Jim Ross on down to, yeah, you guys get it. It didn't stop me, though, and it didn't stop me. Chapter 5, I respect you, Booker Man. Chapter 5, I respect you, Booker Man. Best seat in the house, Justin Roberts, here on Chaos Corner. I got a call from Steve Turbo, a.k.a. my good buddy, Heaven and Hell, Steve Gligorovic, who was running a show during my winter break right outside of Chicago in Hammond, Indiana. I'll never forget this show, and you guys will see why. I've talked about it here on the channel. Chapter 5. He had booked most of the talent and asked if I could book or write the show for him. I had never written a show before, but I knew I could put those puzzle pieces together and figure it out. So I accepted and thanked him for the opportunity. He had a wrestling legend, Terry Funk, booked as well as a lot of local talent. He wanted one more well-known name to advertise, but didn't have a big budget. I tend to think outside the box and to do things that other kids aren't doing, so my big idea was using one of the Tough Enough kids. These kids had been training with WWF and learned how to wrestle for the reality show, which aired on MTV. So to the public, especially the fans, they'd be familiar with the talent. And this is where I talk about earlier, and I talked about, and I know my head's down, up, and my wife said to me, oh, you got to make it. I get it. I don't have a teleprompter. It's raw dog, man. The Miz. That's why you got to respect him. You got to respect the reality show. You got to respect what he did and the longevity. Listen to what Justin Roberts says, which aired on MTV to the public. And we know the whole rock and wrestling connection and when it started in the mid-'80s. Think about it. Everyone from rock and wrestling to Justin Roberts to The Miz. And pro wrestling, sports entertainment. Especially wrestling fans. The show had just ended, so I assumed the guys who didn't win would have to be available and probably interested in working in independent wrestling. No one had ever used the Tough Enough talent on the independent show, so I had to figure out how to track down Josh Matthews. That's right, Impact Wrestling's Josh Matthews. TNA, Josh Matthews? A memorable wrestler from the cast who lived nearby in Indiana. This would be perfect. A guy fresh off of WWF MTV television. And most likely inexpensive to book and no flights or hotel to pay for. I used the internet to find him and to track him down in Indiana. I found his mom and left a message with her for Josh to call me back about an upcoming booking. He called me early the next morning and was very excited about the opportunity to work a wrestling show. There was a documentary prior to Tough Enough on MTV about a guy named Rory Fox, if you remember Rory Fox, who wanted to be a pro wrestler. He wasn't far from Indiana. So Steve booked him as well, and I made an MTV match between the two. The fans who attended were skeptical that Terry Funk would really be on the show because it wasn't common to see him on an indie show in the area. I wrote the show with that in mind. We begin with Big Daddy, the manager that the twins and I had become friends with through the AWA, who had also been responsible for me on my Jerry Springer appearance. I had started making an announcement that had unfortunately in this business we run into travel issues, and tonight the crowd immediately started booing. They knew the announcement would be that Terry Funk wasn't going to be there. Big Daddy interrupted and cut a promo running down Terry Funk. Of course he wouldn't be there because he was too old and scared to take on the client that he represented, being yours truly. And before we get on to that, regarding Josh Matthews and MTV and the match by Justin, I was Josh Matthews' manager that night and managed Josh Matthews on his debut in pro wrestling. Think about that. Think about that history. Think about that's what you get here on this channel, whether it's 5 minutes in or 35 minutes in. Yes, Josh, you're welcome. Great guy. Josh was a cool guy. He really was, and it was a pleasure to work with him. Yeah, Rory Fox, if I remember correctly, a stand-up mofo himself. Can't beat that. And of course, I've been singing the praises and giving the flowers to Steve and Larry, the twins. Unbelievable. Family, my friend. Brotherhood. Lifestyle. That's what it's all about. Back to the promo of Big Daddy and Terry Funk with Justin as the ring announcer at the Hammond, Indiana Civic Center. Big Daddy interrupted and cut a promo running down Terry Funk. Of course he wouldn't be there because he was too old, the yellow egg-sucking dog, and too scared to take on the client he represented. And that night, I believe it was, memory correct, a la Jim Cornette, Tough Tommy Capone, I believe. I have the video up on the channel. You can check it out. True stories. As he ran down Terry, Funk's music hit. And the place went nuts. Blew the roof off of it. It was an entertaining show and a fun learning experience. All of those years of booking shows for my Hasbro wrestling figures. Justin, I love you, brother. And now I got to do it for real. Yeah, baby. And you think about the connection from The Rock to Jerry Springer, to the AWA Superstars, Superclass 3D, to the event at the Hammond, Indiana Civic Center, and Steve and Larry in the WWZ, and it really was. Josh Matthews, MTV, and what Justin did, and think he's 19, 20 years old, already a genius. Reminds me of the Kid from the Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast, who went on to bigger and better things and now is a firefighter. My good friend Matt D. I love you, Matt. At every game you can think of, from the NBA to the NHL to MLB to the NCAA. I love you, Matt. Mario Chaos and the Kid podcast. That's a throwback. Don't you dare miss it. It's on YouTube, I think. So I went back to Tucson after my winter break, and I decided I really wanted to run my own show. I had enough friends in California and Arizona to make it happen, and I wanted to give it a shot. I went all over looking for venues and finally stumbled upon a roller rink. As we go on here, the different talent that Justin had used, and I want to lift up the book, I want to look at the camera, I want to do all three, based out of all over different towns and local schools, staples around campus, different things from Navajo to Lee to Knox to the Hardcore Kid, Aaron Aguilera, Lexi Fry, Lawrence Tyler, Gallo, Cece, the Hawaiian Lion, Hollywood Yates, who would later play Wolf on the American Gladiators, and my favorite tag team, Shane and Shannon, the Ballard Brothers, all came out for the show. We didn't sell out the place. We didn't even get close to it. We had a small crowd, a decent crowd. I was proud to have run my own show. It was a big accomplishment. Between the sponsorship and the tickets that we sold, I had enough money to pay everybody. A small amount. Most of them probably, and as he said, didn't accept it anyway. I was really fortunate to be able to work so many shows with a great group of people. Everybody got along well. We all loved the business. And as much fun as we had at the shows, we really enjoyed going to Denny's. Laughing and lots of laughing. And that's what it's all about. And that's what Chaos Corner is all about, and what I do here. Work or not, combined or not, kayfabe or reality or not, a combination. The WWF at that point even developed a territory in California. As we go on, Chapter 5. I respect you, Booker man. Best seat in the house. Justin Roberts. Fans, go out and get it. Thanks for being here and putting up with me for damn near an hour and a half as I read it to you and relayed my personal relationship and the things that we have been through together, and the relationship of what this man and his accomplishments, what he went on to do. And that's what you get here on Chaos Corner and the channel. So I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. Come on back to Chaos Corner. I'll be here with all kinds of talent and content to put out to you guys. I can't thank you enough. Listen to what I say. You know when I'm a shoot and when I'm in kayfabe, and it's always reality and facts. Don't you dare miss it.